everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Draw. This is episode 2 of the Evil Lyn series. I had a little bit of a misstart. My microphone wasn't working, so we're actually doing this for the second time, but hopefully it's sounding okay this time. And you got a couple different devices connect to your computer. It sometimes wants to decide it wants to use a different mic than you want. So, okay. Thank you so much for letting me know that you can hear me this time. Yeah, I don't know why, but it was not using the microphone. So we're back. Thanks for joining me. We're gonna try and finish Evil Lyn here. And I went in. I just made a couple really quick tweaks. You know, when you see an image for the first time, again after a while, you usually spot a couple things that you want to tweak. And so I just beefed up this arm, adjusted the highlight here, tweaked a little bit of the neck shadow. In fact, I think I want to just kind of adjust that again. There we go. I erased the little temporary drapes we had in the back because those were just, we're not going to use those. They were just to kind of show what we were planning on doing. But for this stream, we're going to actually put them in. And I think that might be a good thing to go ahead and start doing. So let's pop those in, and maybe we should even do it on a different layer so that way we have freedom to mess around and tweak this. We want to change our mind about various things. Let me get one other thing going here. I usually like to have some background music going. You won't hear it, but it's just for me. I like to have a little bit of fun music in the background. Okay, let's see. Let's go for some drapes here, and it might be something where we could even duplicate some of what we've painted if we really like what we got. But I'm going to try to indicate that these are fading off into the background. So maybe this front one is a little bit more bold. And I'll erase away the shadow casting from this throne a little later, because again, I think I want to maybe duplicate this over here potentially. If you're ever trying to make big, long, sweeping strokes, you can try to get your arm into the movement, your shoulder. But also, my cheap trick is just to zoom out, right? Because it means you're spanning less distance on the canvas. So if I zoom it out way far like this, it's really easy for me to make a super long mark. And obviously, that's not something you could do if you were on paper. But in digital, we totally can. And it's honestly kind of nice because we can assess the readability of this from a distance, which is important. So I think that's giving the effect that it's sort of disappearing into the distance there. Something kind of cool is I had a online publication reach out. They do sci-fi fantasy art, and they wanted to feature the Skeletor piece that we did last time. So that'll be kind of cool to see that show up in their magazine. Always appreciate the recognition on that stuff. Okay, so that's like the base, right? That's just like the most essential part of what we want, which is a sense of like these sort of drape things going on. I'm thinking about if there's something that we can add that will make them feel more obviously like drapes. Like, is there some kind of a little tie or something that we can put on here. Well, I don't know. I've good work. Sometimes you don't want to judge something too quickly. Like, you know, give it a little bit of a moment to gel and give it a fair shot of succeeding. But then you don't want to spend an eternity on it because all that polish work might just be pointless if you just end up ditching it. So you got to kind of find a balance there of giving it a fair chance, but not working it. I'm a big fan of the phrase, you know, like polishing a turd, right? Like you really want to be aware of if you're polishing a turd or not. That's kind of a crude phrase, but yeah, that's I think it's a really effective phrase for describing the idea that you're going to sort of take a idea that's fundamentally flawed and try to like brute force it to work. And that is sometimes tricky as an artist because you know you really, well, the hope is that you really put a lot of effort into what you're doing, right? And so if you put that effort in and then it doesn't work, it kind of feels bad, right? But you got to get good at sort of dealing with some of the wrestling with some of those artistic emotions. Okay, that's cool. I'm feeling like that could be workable. I'm also curious, is it like cool if there's something they don't want to ruin any of the silhouette of this throne like that? We definitely, I think, made a cool shape there, but I'm wondering, could we, is there something interesting to do with this up here? Does that close off the composition? Well, I'm looking it up on my OBS window because, again, it's small and I can get a better read of if it is working or not. It's interesting. And no, I think it closes the composition off too much because we're getting a lot of nice depth as we go back here, and I don't really want to distract from this, so I think we'll leave that out. But I like what we've got going with these. I think that looks pretty nice. One thing, yeah, the other thing I was thinking about doing is maybe adding some skulls to her armor. Like right now, there's just some implied detail, but yeah, I don't know. She's like in Skeletor's crew, right? And I feel like she could have a little bit of that skull motif going on. So I wonder if maybe we try putting some skulls in here. I know they feel a little cliche, but honestly, these like 80s villains, they're just like they're just cool doing their stereotypical thing. And it's kind of refreshing. Okay, yeah, that's kind of working for me. Just a little fun detail there. And then maybe we do something here as well. It's funny how with just a few marks, a few tweaks, suddenly it forms a completely different shape, right? That's I think that's what I really like about this sort of a scratchboardy style is that it's quick to indicate something. But I just wonder if maybe that's a little too large. Yeah, that looks better. Is there maybe some kind of a cool radiant motif around it? I think I blew this out too much. Maybe we just had a little bit more detail back into the edge. Okay, yeah. Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for stopping by. You missed our little microphone mishap earlier. We were like broadcasting with no audio for like 5 minutes, but then we had what is your name on here? Bangu? Yeah, we had Bangu come in and give me the alert that, yo, dude, there's no audio. And I was like, oh boy. So luckily a restart did it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that little radial thing. Those little like notched pieces. Nope, that was too many. I like it, but I don't like it that much. Let's pull it back. Pump the brakes. I used to work for a guy at a studio who he loved car analogies. So it just seemed like in any conversation they would just be like at least 3 or 4 car analogies, and it almost felt like he was stretching to use a car analogy. And it was funny. Like among my friends, we just kind of joked about it a little bit. Like the most common one you'll hear is like, okay, let's pump the brakes on that, but it'd be like, all right, like let's shift it into third gear, or I think we need to do a U-turn and then carefully back into the space. It's just like it seemed like it got a little out of hand, and I think we sort of like memeified it at some point. It was really quite funny. You had to have been there. I did my best to retell the humor. Big Chris Metzen energy. Oh boy, man. Uh, Gosh, I love some classic Metzen art. His stuff is like ingrained in my mind, like the all the old school Blizzard stuff. But that's cool. I like if I'm getting any of that kind of energy, I feel like that's probably a really good thing because I don't know. These are characters I feel like he would probably be into drawing. I don't want to assume, but I just have a suspicion. See, that's interesting. So if I continue the light for this shape, then I don't have to put the rim light on this side to help you see this shape better. These are those like weird choices, right? Like it's a choose your own adventure. We could cut this off here and we could put a little bit of a rim light back here and that helps you see the shape, or we could push the light more in the front and omit the rim light, because I think both just feels like too much, right? I kind of like this version better. I mean, you could fiddle with these choices endlessly if you really wanted to. Is it possible that she wants like another little like necklacey thing here? See, what's kind of cool is now that we've got all the basic stuff in place, I can really tinker with these details. I'm kind of a sucker for details. I like that phase. When you're roughing it all in at the beginning, well, I like the very, very beginning when everything is super loose and you're not really concerned about precision. You're just, it's just building blocks, right? So that phase is really fun. And then like the close to detailing phase is done. So let's think of it in 4 phases. You've got the super, super loose phase. Then you've got kind of figuring out all the medium shapes. Then you've got the detailing phase, and then you've got the uber polish phase. I like phases 1 and 3, and I'm not as big a fan of phases 2 and 4. All right, that was my attempt at explaining which parts of the image I like best in terms of process. His jokes were tiresome. Holy crap. That's like, you should win a prize for that one. That's amazing. That was Miss Artsy in chat with the tire for the car analogies. That was amazing. Oh yeah, that's right. I noticed that I need to finish this shadow up onto the ledge here. And then I think, yeah, we need to get that on the throne as well. Is that on this layer? Yeah, it is. So let's see if we can get... It's a little tricky, right? Because there's some cool design stuff back here, and I don't want to get rid of all that. So maybe we'll flex our artistic license here to keep some of the details. What does this shadow want to do over here? What do we do with this shadow? Is this like... Oh boy. Oh boy, we're in trouble. Well, let's see. We go... Okay, I think we're gonna do that. I realize that there's some shenanigans going on there, but I don't want to lose that arm of the chair. So okay, we're gonna go with that for now. Hopefully nobody feels like that's too much of a stretch. We're not being too wonky about that. I'm gonna modify this side a little bit so we don't get that like super mirrored look. Mirroring can be fine, but I think for this image that wants to feel a bit more illustrative, I want to just make sure that it doesn't feel perfectly the same. And in fact, we can cut away a little bit of that shadow there. Does that feel weird? That almost feels like it's the shape of the chair extending, though, because we don't have a rim light to help the edge of the chair out. It's all one big puzzle, right? It's kind of crazy. Did we do enough skulls, or should we put another skull down here maybe? I guess this is the end of her like corset, if we want to call it that, like whatever, this bodice or whatever. So I don't know that there's really a, like, I guess we could put another skull here, but I kind of feel like that, yeah, I like the emphasis kind of around the ribs. So I think maybe we'll just tweak the design patterning a little bit on the top of this. I kind of want something louder here. Okay, rule of threes. We got to go for one more. There's a little splotch there. I think that's from the throne behind. Yeah, it is. Okay, let's just cut that. There we go. Is that Chappelle Rowan? Oh man, I don't know that reference. I mean, is it? Yeah, unfortunately, you'll have to help me out, Ryan. Help me, help me from looking out of the loop. Have any of you guys been playing the new World of Warcraft there? There's a lot of people playing that game again, I noticed. I'm assuming people watching my stream are probably also gamers or uh, gaming feels sort of tangentially related to the stuff we're doing here. Guilty, yeah, nice, nice. Yeah, I am as well, and some pretty sweet stuff going on. I feel like they're doing a good job. But I have a storied past with that game. Like I played it way back before it ever came out for the public, and I've dipped in and out of that game for years. But I just recently got back in. It's been pretty fun. Maybe a little too fun. I'm sure you guys know what I mean. Is there like opportunity for some cool like buckle type deals down here maybe? That might be, is that too much detail? Are you even going to be able to tell if that's what it is? I don't know. Stay tuned and find out. I mean, I don't know that you'll be able to tell that those are buckles, but I'll know, and that's what's important. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else? I guess we can put an indication of some of those on this side now, because I'm kind of committed to that idea. So we'll just extend this just a bit more. You know, I'm new to this whole, you know, YouTube live streaming situation, and the weird thing is, you know, you're having a conversation with people, but you're the only one, you can only hear yourself, right? You're like talking to just text, and that's it's a little weird. I know there's probably many YouTubers out there who are experienced and have forgotten what it's like to just start doing it and how weird that is, but you kind of feel a little nutty, like you're talking to yourself. Although I talk to myself a lot anyway. I think that might be true of introverted artists like myself, as you just have a kind of running dialogue, whether there's anybody around or not. Maybe it's helpful to your art somehow. Who knows? I'm not going to question it. You're a day oneer, meaning that you were in like on classic retail launch. Just want to get some clarity, but I think that's what you mean. Okay, are we ready to do the dreaded flip? I've been sort of not flipping as much as I probably should. So we're going to flip this, and I'm probably going to see something immediately that I want to change. Actually, not too bad. I think we may have survived the flip, everybody. That's always nice. Okay, this helmet maybe feels a little heavy on one side, so maybe we'll just carve off a little bit here. But yeah, that was not, I was not seeing anything that was like super scary. So that's always a good feeling, right? On paper, and you don't have the opportunity to flip your stuff on paper. I feel like that's again why I love traditional art, because it's like just try to draw it right the first time, and try to see it right from the angle you're drawing it at without having to see it mirrored. And then I think if you can get decent at that in that medium, then when you're in digital and you have these extra tools, I guess it kind of feels like you're cheating, right? It's like, man, okay, if it's messed up, I can just flip and I can just see if it's weird or not. So it's sort of like, oh boy, I'm going to use a DBZ reference here, but it's like Piccolo with his weighted clothing, right? And then when he's gonna really like, you know, kick ass, he's got to take his weighted gear off, and so you're sort of like traditional is you wearing the weighted gear, and then in digital you take it off, and hopefully you can execute at a higher level or more efficiently or something. That's a good flip. Okay, yeah, I know that's yeah, actually it should be a thing, right? Like, all right, we got a good flip. Okay. Every artist knows that feeling. So I think we're just kind of noodling. Let's address something new in the image. So I've got this little magic dot here that, damn, we want to obviously improve that. And I want to add some cool magic there. Now on Skeletor, we did this sort of like runic circle sort of thing. It almost felt like diagrammatic. And maybe we'll try something like that here, but I also want to maybe try a little bit more of an organic approach and see how that looks. So I don't know, let's just get in and let's see what happens. This channel is more of a, it's less of a how-to and more of a what happened channel. And I stole that completely from Adam Savage on his tested channel on YouTube. But when he said that, I was just like, dude, that is right on. That's exactly the kind of content I would want to make. Because it's, you know, I try to be helpful, but at the same time, I don't always want to feel like I have to be so polished that it's like, you know, it's stitched up really tightly and it, you know, makes sense from all angles and stuff like that. And when I'm doing live content, it's just all a little bit looser and it's a little bit experimental. So this is more of a what happened type of channel. Also, too, you know, some of you watching know that I make curriculum for an art college, and that stuff's got to be really tight, right? Like it's got to try to make sense for people of all different skill levels, and so, you know, I don't necessarily want to be doing more of that on my YouTube channel. So, okay, enough of that. Let's get in here and let's see. Now, I do actually like the idea that maybe the center of this is some kind of a magic orb situation. And I really hope you guys can't hear the sprinklers outside. I guess I'll find out in the recording later. And I guess the flame idea isn't bad, like some kind of a swirly magical flame. There's a really cool book called Elemental Magic, which is by a guy who does the 2D animations for Disney films, and he talks about, you know, the shape, language, and the motion and everything of things like water and fire, and it's an amazing book. And if you guys haven't heard of that, go check it out. I think I like it because it's really insightful, but also the ideas in there apply beyond just what he's talking about in particular. Like the ideas of rhythm and shape apply to everything. So you guys should check that one out. It's really cool. And I always think about that book when I'm doing things like swirls and stuff. It's You know, there's got to be logic to this. It seems like it's random, but it's not. You want to catch yourself doing things like laddering where everything's even, right? You want to try to use odd numbers. You want to try to have emphasis. And so, yeah, it was a light bulb moment for me in design when I realized that arbitrary design language should also follow rules. And the rules actually uh, reduce the stress, right? Like to know that there's sort of some right ways to do stuff. Because in art, everything feels so subjective. Like, oh my gosh, how do I do something correctly if anything is possible? So when you learn that there are some rules that make things aesthetically pleasing, it's actually, for me, it's kind of a relief, right? It's like, okay, there's a little bit of a template here. We could use a little bit of a guide when it comes to something so subjective as art, right? And of course, there'll be people out there who always want to believe that there are no rules, and I understand that too. For some people, art is just therapeutic, and it should just be fun with zero rules at all. But I'm in the realm of entertainment design, so I sort of like to know that I'm executing things that are like candy to your eyes, hopefully. Do you guys have a favorite candy? Now I'm thinking about candy. See, something kind of cool about that. Now maybe we'll put in another ring around this. I'm going to try to trust my eyes on this ellipse here. Luckily, it can be a little broken because it's magical. So I can hairy line syndrome it, and it won't look like it's actually hairy line syndrome. It'll look intentional. Let's zoom out here and see if this is working at all. Okay, actually, this is a little distracting here. Let's cut it down by the hand, and that's, we don't want that to cross over. Yeah, Miss Artsy, that sounds correct. I think that's correct. Yeah, I think there's two books in that series too. I only have the first one. I'm assuming the second one is also great, but the first is the only one that I've personally looked at. Yeah, if you're struggling with magic effects, check it out, and then like I said, it'll probably unlock some helpful ideas in terms of just dealing with arbitrary design in general. Like if you're trying to design some, like this, her outfit here, that's kind of like crazy stuff going on, but there's some thought here, right? Like it looks crazy, but I'm not just throwing things around randomly. Like there's some design rhythm stuff going on in my head. It hopefully looks intentional, but I think you'll find maybe a few cool ideas in there. If you do, let me know, and I'll continue to recommend that to others. Wonder if maybe there could be like some interesting little like symbols on the edges of this guy here. This is getting a little bit like what we did with Skeletor, but I'm just sort of allowing myself to be a bit more organic this time. And I think at the end of the day, it would be nice if every single image in this series looked, like it all fit together really well. But each time we do one of these, I do want to give myself the opportunity to explore. And so I think that in general, they'll feel like they fit, but you might see some different sort of techniques evolving and approaches shifting a little bit. And I'm totally okay with that. I just want everybody to have fun as they come along for the ride here, and that I'm having fun too. What if this swirled around the hand here? Oh. Okay, what if we did that with it? Ooh, that's kind of fun, right? That feels playful and sort of powerful at the same time. Playful and powerful. We need a third P. We can call it the triple P effect. Nope, that doesn't sound good at all. Omit that. Undo. Control Z. Control Z. Ooh, okay. Do I want to go a little heavier with that? Maybe. Sure. So there's something kind of interesting about the sort of yin and yang of this and this. It's kind of fun. You know, does this look evil enough? I feel like this might be looking too pretty. Like maybe this needs to turn into a skull. That might that might help it feel a little more sinister. I have a tip for you guys, a Photoshop tip. Are you ready to get nerdy? Okay. So if you're working on a document and you've got things on different layers and you don't want to go over to the layer stack and fiddle around, and some of you probably know this, but I'll just say it anyway. So if you switch to the move tool, right, we're on the little arrow, and then you hold the control key down and you click on something, it will automatically put you on the layer that contents is on. So like, for example, if I wanted to tweak this gray stuff back here that was part of the throne, move tool, control click, boom. Now I'm erasing on that layer. If I want to edit the skull, control click on that, right? And then we're editing that. Now there is even a feature in the move tool. It's a checkbox that is auto select layer, but I actually don't like doing that because I don't want it to auto select layers for me. I like using the hotkey so that I can tell it when I want it to select a layer. But it's a cool feature. Also, to expand on that, you can let's see if I can. Is it? Let's see. Is it? Oops. Like, what is it? Hold on, making everything a mess. Okay, I'll have to check this out later. There's a hotkey combination that you can drag a box with the move tool, and it will select all the layers that are inside the box. Yeah, I don't know why I can't remember the hotkey at the moment. I tried every combination; it wasn't working. Hey, Tommy, welcome in. Oh yes, the Bob Ross uh, emotes or whatever they're called. What do they call those in Twitch? You can also check the checkbox in the tool settings, and you don't need to press Control. Right? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yep. It's a good thing to be able to sometimes just turn it on, so it's always doing that. But sort of like I sort of like the manual control of it. Look at this little skull guy. He's looking like he needs to see the dentist. Okay, that looks a little more sinister. Skull guy's doing his thing. Like maybe we need some cool like magic little symbols or something. It doesn't have to be anything too legible. I'm sure there's some language out there in the world where they're going to say like, oh my god, he just did the symbol for, I don't know, something crass, and then I'll be sad that it's in my image forever. But it's not supposed to be anything, all right? It's supposed to be random. Okay, so that's kind of fun. I like that. But should it be even louder? Okay, let's zoom out. Yeah, I think it could be even louder. Maybe it's like just kind of like bigger orbs on the corners. And I'm going to just try to do one bigger circle as a test to see, is this just too much? Nope, I actually don't mind it. Especially when I look at it on OBS, I see it smaller. It's like it kind of just wants to be a little bit more bold. I mean, this girl's supposed to be all about her evil magic, right? So if the magic is not feeling magic-y enough, that's a problem. I many years ago, working in studio, I used to do these doodles at lunch for fun, and sometimes some of my coworkers would hang out and watch me do stuff, and we just talk about art and jam and whatever. And uh, in that time period, I thought of this sort of phrase and process that I call overdrive, which is just the idea that you just put a new layer on and you just do really crazy stuff to the image and just see what happens. Try really bold things, because as you work on something more and more, you get it tightens up, right? You're like nervous to try big things. And so if you have like a phrase for it, it's like flipping a switch in your brain. So I don't know, you guys can try that, right? Like if it's something that you feel like you struggle with, try to, think about how you can change your mentality, and then try to brand that change in mentality in some way, whether it's like a phrase, right? Or it's like I don't know, it could even be something like like twist your watch upside down, or you like change the finger that your ring is on, right? Or like it could be anything. It could be something stupid and silly, but there's something about connecting a little bit of extra to something that you might struggle to do. And it's just all like human psychology, right? And so I want to just do an overdrive layer here of what happens if this magic is like really crazy in the image, right? Like if it's just super insane, like what is too much, right? Let's figure out what too much is, and then we'll know. Because I think with this, we're like creeping up, and before you know it, it's going to be 2 hours are gone, and we haven't really done anything else. So I want to just kind of see what the extent of that is. So this is overdrive mode, this right here. And it's funny because I'm actually sort of liking the idea that maybe this magic here is connected to magic on the staff. I don't know that I would have thought about that if we were going to stay in creeper mode, right? Or you were just being real slow and careful about everything. But I also want to flip this to see if I like the symmetry this is creating, or how it's affecting the composition. So I think it just wants to probably be trying to find it good. I guess it's got to be kind of circular. Okay. And then this kind of completes the circle down here. So if it goes a little wider like this, comes through, and then I'll have it just kind of come away like that. And it's going to go behind her. Oh, thank you so much. It's got a certain kind of look to it, right? Not my typical style, but I thought it could be fun to experiment with this. Okay, so let's, now that we know we want to do that, I think we can come in here and we can just be a little more careful, a little more precise. And I could always take the layer we just did and I could just drop it back and we could do a new one on top. So both of those are valid ways to work. That's more of a true iterative process. Here I'm just more kind of like I'm more like whittling away or refining on the same layer, which is a kind of maybe more sculptural, less like a drafts person, but more like a sculptor. I like both mentalities. They're both really cool. I'll have this fuse into this section like this here. And I think that's kind of nice too, because from a distance, when you look at this one, maybe compared to Skeletor, you're going to see like the read of Skeletor is like his sort of like, you know, massive muscular stance and his big sword and everything. And then with this one, the immediate read is like, wow, there's a lot of magic going on. And I think that that's important to capture that sort of archetypal distinction between the two. And as we do other characters, we'll see if we can figure out what their vibes are and try and capture that as best we can. But if you guys have a favorite Masters of the Universe character that you'd like to see me do next, I haven't decided who's going to be the third character yet. So if you guys have a thought on who you'd like to see, leave it in the comments and I will include it in my considerations for next time. And there's about, I think I read that there was about 35 odd characters, you know, main characters in this universe. So there's plenty for us to choose from here. It's not like we're going to run out, which is great. And then what I'd like to do is, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but there's a very specific size and shape aspect ratio to these that I'm doing, and it's because we're gonna print these on some cards, and we'll print a little deck, maybe like at the end of the year or something with all the stuff we've done, and make it a fun little collectible thing. Because I'm a sucker for cool collectibles, physical collectibles. I gotta tell you, it was hard for me to avoid opening this and working on it at all since the last time. Like, I wanted to get in here and tinker with it, and I had to force myself to just leave it for the stream. We can't open up the image on the second episode, and then people are like, what the heck happened? It's all different now. It's not allowed. So whatever happens, you guys are here for it. Let's avoid some complexity there. And then what do we do? I don't want to get too far off of what we did over here. I want there to be some similarity between the styles of the two magic circle things. Getting excited to put some of the lighting in here, and well, I mean, we have lighting implied, but you know what I mean, some of the tones, and to get the accent color in. Might have to open up Skeletor just so I can remind myself kind of like what our strategy was, because I don't want to get, again, I want there to be some harmony between these images. Okay, we got a third one here. So your name is This Is a Book on Twitch. Are you a heavy reader, I'm assuming? Or is there maybe some other association there? Sometimes people pop in here and they're people I know in real life and I don't even realize it's them. So that could also be the case here. Okay, that's looking kind of cool. Something kind of interesting. This was accidental, but it almost looks kind of ribbon-like because it gets thick and then it sort of gets thin, and then it feels like it sort of twists on itself here, which is cool. I think maybe we'll just leave that in. Like Bob Ross says, we get some happy accidents. I'm a huge Bob Ross fan. I mean, who isn't? Like, I feel like you'd have to be kind of a weird person to say you hate Bob Ross. Like, that's it feels like it's impossible. But as an artist, maybe that's hard for me to properly judge that. If you're working on something right now, save your work. Don't lose your stuff. Although a lot of apps are getting better about auto saving your progress, which is nice. Earlier today, I was editing some school content in DaVinci Resolve, and my scratch disk drive got filled up, and I didn't realize how DaVinci works and that it never really deletes any of your cache, your render cache, unless you tell it to. And maybe there's a setting that you can tell it to kind of like delete it periodically or something. Well, it wasn't set on mine if there is that setting. And so my scratch disk at some point was just telling me, I got no more room. I'm full. Help me. So I had to go in and delete it. But I think there's some point to that story and I lost it now. It'll come back to me later. Stay tuned to find out why the hell I was talking about that. All right, let's erase some of the ribbon that's crossing her leg and her staff. And maybe I'll like pull a little bit out. Okay. And then I want to get rid of some of the white here, so that reads a little easier. All right. We'll see you later, Tommy. Thanks for dropping in, man. And again, thanks for the warning on the mic thing. That was a crucial assist there. The good thing is I actually know what to check now on my end. I don't have to have somebody tell me. I actually there's a levels meter that I can look at to see if it's working right, and so I'll know to sort of look at that to check for it in the future. Okay, so I like what we ended up doing with the magic here. I think it looks cool. I do like some of this ribbon quality here, and I'm thinking maybe we want to bring in the ribbon quality up on the top as well. If we can find the layer for it. It's around here somewhere. There it is. So let's maybe go thin here. And then we'll have it. Yeah. Yep. It's cool, right? It feels like some kind of like transparent lace or something going through the air. It's a fun effect. I like it. It feels metallic too, right? Because you have that sort of um like a almost like a Fresnel highlight. It's kind of fun. Now, is it possible we want some kind of like highlight on this whole sphere? Like, does this have maybe like, is this intended to look like a giant orb, this whole thing? I wonder if that could be interesting. Hmm. It might be too, is that too busy? It's questionable. It's questionable. It might be too loud. Let's have it there, but let's just turn it down a little bit. And then I think in a couple of minutes we should start doing the lighting and the color accents and all that other sort of stuff. The angle on this headdress is still bugging me. Let's adjust this again. I'm gonna flip it. Oh, okay. Faces always require like 120% concentration. Like, why the hell's he stopped talking? He's gone zombie mode. Some things require 100% of the brain. You guys know, you artists out there know what I'm talking about. There was definitely a time where I couldn't have done this at all, right? Like the whole idea of live streaming art and talking and I feel like I'm at a point where I can at least get a reasonable stab at everything while still being a little conversational. But there's a few things still that I think, yeah, that completely soak up all of the gray matter. Faces and face symmetry, human face symmetry and stuff, definitely super high on the brain power usage. Let's kind of tone down the brightness on the inside of that piece there. Is this just too complex? This might just be too complex. Maybe just get that to be a simpler read there. Yeah. Okay. Less is more, I guess, on that one. Let's see. You're working on futuristic tank in Blender. Not the biggest hard surface guy, but it's really fun. Yeah. It's interesting because I really love hard surface, but I don't get a lot of opportunities to do hard surface design, and I particularly like it if I have a chance to do a little bit of 3D in there as well. Like I love getting into ZBrush and doing the Z modeler and all that, and I'd like to get into some of that VR stuff as well at some point. So yeah, I love that. It's just there's not enough time in the day. So many tools and techniques that I'd love to experiment with. But you know what? This channel and the viewership and everything here, it sort of is an outlet for me to try things, right? So who knows what we might take a look at in the future, and I'm planning on maybe even doing some product reviews, art product reviews in the future as well on the channel. You know, not in replacement of these. We'll always have these, but just in addition to, only if I feel like there's something worth doing or something that I'm particularly interested in. I really like art tools though, art supplies. I love mechanical pencils. Always loved those since I was a kid. I spend way too much money on mechanical pencils, but yeah, they're a lot of fun. So maybe we'll see some reviews of that stuff in the future. If you guys have any art tools, art tool comparisons you want me to do, again, leave a comment. Just let me know. I'm right now, I'm just getting ideas for things that you guys might want to see. And if it's art related, then it's something we could certainly explore. Okay, I'm just sort of analyzing. I'm thinking about, you know, like accent colors and you know, let me. I'm gonna get Skeletor loaded up on my other monitor over here so I can see sort of what we did for that, because I want to again kind of match a little bit of that in this one. Okay, okay, I've got him pulled up over there. Okay, so what we should probably do first is let's go ahead and let's do that lighting. If you remember, we used like a soft eraser to sort of bring emphasis to different areas, and then we used a threshold on it to kind of clamp them to specific values, so it felt like it fit this sort of a engraved or etched sort of quality. So let's do that. That's step number one, and then we'll get into some of the local value decisions. All right, soft eraser coming in. And I definitely want emphasis up here on her forehead. It's kind of cool, right? When you add a little bit of, I mean, this is like, it's really interesting because you're living in a world that is limited by, like, you know, two tones, right? Either, you know, it's binary, right? Either yes or no. There's either white or there's not. And then you bring in another tool like gradation and value, and it feels like a like overpowered, right? It feels like a superpower. Like, holy crap! Like, look how much form we can indicate with some of that in there. I mean, maybe this is even a style, right? Like what I'm doing here. Like we could even just maybe leave it like this in the future for some other type of thing we're working on. But think for this, we're going to try to stick to our strategy. I'm going to bring a little bit of twinkle to the eye. And then I'll bring some light to the top of this here. Yeah, when I try traditional or digital tools, I think I would probably do some traditional stuff, but I would definitely be open to doing some digital as well. I think one of the challenges with digital is that there's like a cost issue there, right? Like if I wanted to go try out a bunch of different tablets or something, it's like, okay, well now that video is costing me like, you know, $2,000 or something to produce. So I'll leave this out in the YouTube sphere. If you're a company that makes digital art products and you want to see me review something, then send me something and I'll review it, right? And you know, that's something where you got to have X number of viewers, I think, to qualify, right? They're just going to look at your numbers and see if it's worth it or not, because it's an ad for them, basically. But I'm not interested in doing any content that doesn't have an honest opinion. So everybody, if anybody does that, they would just be okay with whatever I'm going to say about their products. Gosh, this is interesting, right? It's like, I feel like I'm being a little bit more like careful about it on her than I was with Skeletor. I don't know if that's going to have like an effect on how it looks later, but yeah, we'll see. This is a fun step. I like this step. This is Piccolo taking off his armor, right? Granting ourselves access to a whole new tool. The power of values. Ooh, okay, so I should probably figure out what I want to do with this. This magic here. I guess this wants to be bright because that's a highlight. We can put that in over here as well. And I guess the magic overall should be bright, because it's kind of like it's glowing. So maybe we... The other thing I guess I should consider is we don't want this to apply to the throne. What did I do on Skeletor? I can't even remember what we just did a few weeks ago. I'll figure it out. I'm just gonna ignore what it's doing to the background, the throne and stuff. It's not gonna affect that. This is just for her layer, and we'll deal with that in a moment. I mean, I could obviously just like figure it out, but it's more bothering me that I know that I did this before and I can't remember specifically how I dealt with it. Okay, so that's definitely got to be bright. Right there. And we'll definitely put some light on the leg. I'm going to have it come a little bit brighter out here toward the knee, so we get a sense of that leg just coming out a little bit towards us. Again, sort of a little bit of a hack there. It's kind of cool though, right? Like the limitation is if you can get the leg to read like it's coming towards you, or you know, it's moving in space without you having to rely on a gradient, then the thought is that when you add the gradient, it could be giving you just an extra strong 3D feel. But the other thing hopefully you're noticing is that I'm trying to think about what is the base volume that these shapes are. So the leg is obviously like a cylinder, right? So I'm trying to think about, you know, light wrapping around a cylinder. Maybe we'll bring out the leg a little bit more. And then we need some light hitting the ground here. You love to see me draw Piccolo? Oh boy. I have not drawn Dragon Ball Z stuff since high school, and that was like an eternity ago. That'd be a fun one. I definitely. I mean, I'm sort of down to experiment and try whatever. It's tricky with some of that stuff because it's so stylistically specific, right? Like if you don't draw him the way Kira Toriyama would draw him, it's sort of like feels like it's wrong, and so I think that there's some challenge in that. But you know, some of the stuff for MOTU, I feel like it's been done in a few different ways over the years, so I feel like that there's a little bit more latitude with how I can do it. But again, that's not to say that I wouldn't want to do it. It's more just I'm new to the idea and I just have to sort of wrap my head around it. Okay, so I'm going to make a backup of this layer because what we're going to do is we're going to now do the threshold thing on it so that it's not soft, because that's not the look we're going for. So we're going to go to image adjustments, threshold. Oh no, not threshold. Posterize. Oh, and before we do this, we need to make sure that we have a white layer merged underneath. So you see how crappy that looks? It's kind of funny though, right? Like to see it like that. Oh, we get little glowy dots for the eyes. Okay, anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and try to run that that posterize on it. Oh, and you know what we should do is we should set this to multiply so we can actually see its effect. It's almost like I need... Okay, I'll figure that out in a moment. Why do I not remember how I did that on Skeletor? Oh, wow, interesting. Okay, so... Yeah, okay, so let's see. Let's lower the opacity down. Okay, now let's run the posterize on it. Oh, interesting. Oh man, that's got an interesting look to it, doesn't it? I mean, we could obviously we could edit it and tweak it. So there's something kind of cool about that. I really like those hard edges, man. They give it an interesting vibe. Now I think that there's some unfortunate, you know, value blocking in the face that I'll probably want to tinker with, but yeah, it's something really interesting about that. So okay, how do we? Okay, so it's set to multiply. So I guess we're gonna go in and. How do I edit this now? Let's take the face, because it's specifically the face that I'm feeling like is just a little bit off. So I'm going to set this to that, and then let's do this. Okay, yeah, that looks better. Yeah, more happy accidents. Exactly. Like there's some cuts that are happening that I wasn't anticipating, but it's all based on our input essentially. So it's kind of cool. And then the tricky thing is that this is it's a lowered opacity, so I can't sample it directly from there, but I do want to kind of adjust this a little bit here. Felt a little too aggressive. And then let's cut that. So just a little bit of manual adjustment. And then yeah, actually I'm not minding that. I'm wondering if that splotch there is a little too isolated. That's on this layer here, so maybe we'll I'm going to try and dit it out a little bit. You know, this is a little bit of cheating because it starts to feel like we're rendering with gray values when I get in here and I'm this noodly with it, but if there's any place where we want to get noodly, I think the face is probably that area. Do we just cut through all the way here? Nope. We're going to undo all that. Roll it back. Roll it back. See, I went too crazy with it. There's something nice about the simplicity of it. When I start to get in there and I start to like tamper with it too much, it loses the vibe. So let's just kind of simplify that again. Okay. All right. Okay, we're gonna leave it. I'm not touching it. I'm leaving it alone. I think it looks cool. How are we doing on time? Okay, cool. We got some time. So I think we're doing good. We're on track to wrap this up. So next thing, now that we've got some of this lighting in here, and I guess I did end up darkening the background. So if we want the background, I'm going to leave that. And I think if I want the background to show up stronger, what I'll do is I'll just brighten the background a bit. And I think we do want it to show up just a little bit stronger. I might also want to do a little bit of lighting on this throne right back here. So let's figure out what layer that's on. That's on that layer there. Oh, you know what we could do? We could do, instead of doing a black layer that we erase out, let's just do a white layer that we add. So I'll just use a round soft brush. I'll just put in a little bit of light hitting some of this stuff here. And then we'll have to run the posterize on this as well, of course, but and I'll put a little bit on the top of the chair arms. Okay, cool. And now the tricky part, I have to put this, we're going to detach these. Now I'm going to fill this with black. I'll merge this. Image, adjust, posterize. Okay, that's still feeling too soft. Image, posterize. 6, 7, 8. Let's try 9 layers. Then we'll set this to screen mode and then we'll connect it in. Okay, cool. Sorry, I know I don't have my layers like showing in here, but it just, I don't like showing the UI. It just looks ugly. But there was some layer shenanigans going on, but we got it there. Okay, now local colors. So with Skeletor, we did two local colors. We did one sort of slightly darker tone, and then we did the color accent. So we're gonna stick to that here. And the slightly darker tone was also tinted a little bit, ever so slightly, towards the color accent color, which for her I'm going to go with purple again, but I'm going to make it a little bit more of a pink purple, a little more magenta, and because his was a little more of a bluish purple, just so that they're connected but they're different and unique as well. And I'll just do this in gray and then we can tint it later. And now to figure out what we want to have, probably let's just try. Well, first of all, let's make sure that we're. Why is this not? I guess I'll just put this on top. Oh, it's because I'm not on the right brush. That's why I was on a soft brush. There we go. Sorry, it's my very first time at Photoshop. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let's see how this looks. So this will just be our way to distinguish between like clothing and skin. And then some of the clothing will get the accent color. I'm actually thinking about, for the next image, I might try a little tweak to the strategy where we might start with black on white as just the first underdrawing, because I'm obviously more comfortable drawing dark lines on a light background than doing it this way, and so I'm kind of curious if we start the image with that base drawing, that method, and then I sort of invert it and then we can go in. I don't know, we'll see. Sort of still finding different ways to approach this. I would like to stick with this IP for a bit, and then we can, once we've like exhausted all of the usual suspects, then I think we can move to another IP. It's always tricky, right? Because I mean, part of the viewership here, I'd like to be people who are into this franchise, and those people may have favorite characters that I want to make sure I don't leave some of them off, right? Like they might be here and just like, man, okay, this is cool, but the character I really want him to do is X, Y, or Z, and then if I don't get to that, then that's like a big, huge bummer. So this is again why I'd say if you're here and you're a MOTU fan and you want to see me do a particular character, uh, I'd like to say that we're going to do all of the characters, but we might not, and I don't want to miss one of the ones that you're really wanting to see. So definitely leave a comment so that I know to get around to a particular one that you might be your favorite. Let's see. I guess we do that with the staff as well. Sure. except for the glass orb. I'll leave that brighter. And then the nice thing too is that with this being darker, we do have an opportunity to indicate a little heavier specular reflection on some of these parts if it makes sense. Okay, now let's pick a accent color. So purple, but a little bit more on the magenta side. So something like that I think is good. So let's kind of like leave a little, well, make that look a little less sloppy because it's going to be on screen for a bit. So let's shift this to be in that range, but just ever so slightly. And actually, I'm going to make it a little more obvious at first, just so I know that it's in the right color range. Cool. Okay, so that's gray, and that's just a little bit not gray, shifted towards her color. So okay, good. Oh, I guess I missed her necklace. My bad. Let's pop the opacity up on that. Whoa, that looks kind of fun. Sample that. Sorry if I just blinded you. I mean, some of this stuff is going to get covered up by the true accent color. All right, accent color time. Multiply, sample the color. Let's just do obvious stuff first. And if you guys are approaching something where you're just like not sure, you know, within that set of decisions, there's going to be stuff that's more obvious to you than others. So just start with the stuff that's more obvious to you, right? And then you can move to the stuff that you're not as sure about as you sort of think about it, like you're isolating the question of the mysteries, right? You're like surrounding them with more known knowledge until you sort of whittle them into a tiny solvable piece. That's how my brain works with it anyway. Okay, that's cool. Let's sample that. I'm going to add it to my swatches so I don't have to keep changing the layer blending mode. Okay, going through. Is this orb? That might be drawing too much attention to it. Maybe we can make these the accent. I mean, this is all about like drawing your eye, right? Leading your eye through the piece. And getting it to look in certain places. Maybe I don't. Now with Skeletor, he had his giant cloak that was all that color, so it could be that maybe the magic here, parts of the magic get the color accent. So we have enough of that. And the image, this is a little too strong. I'm going to turn it down, but as I'm blocking it, I just want to leave it a little louder to start with. Whoops, careful with that. Okay, there we go. Let's kill the swatch because it's really distracting. Oh, whoops! I totally painted in areas I didn't want to paint in. Yeah, He-Man obviously has to be in here, and it is the question of, yeah, is he next or is he the last character we do? It's I'm not sure what the answer is. It's a really good question though. So I want to do, let's do the little bit of that specular reflection-y stuff. Because I definitely liked when we did that on Skeletor. What brush do I want? There we go. And then we're going to put a little bit of a rim light in here as well. Okay, sure. I was thinking about if I wanted to make her hood or her headdress more saturated to draw your eye up there. Not sure yet. Yeah, I'm definitely going to bring in some rim light so we can get some of that shape to pop. Oh, we missed a little leg band on the pass here. Um, Was it 50% opacity? There we go. Now I can add a little sparkle to that guy. Nice. Got a couple little buckles down there. I don't want to forget about those. And we could add a little bit to the throne back here, but I kind of feel like it might start to pop forward a little bit too much. So I'm thinking we actually just not put any heavy specular reflection there. Is that too much? Actually, that's not too bad. Okay, let's see. Now let's go ahead and do the let's do the rim light. I'm thinking, is this, maybe we just turn down the opacity on this a little bit? Yeah, okay, there we go. Let's turn down the darkness on that slightly. Let's have a rim light come in. And hit the head so we get your eye to pop up to this area. Funny, I was talking earlier about obsessing about how we were going to deal with that shoulder, and now here I am putting a huge rim light in, but it is what it is. Image evolves. It's funny because you can actually go pretty intense with this if you wanted to. Let's see how far we can push this. That might be a little too much. That's cool, right? We get that other side of the form reading. I love it. And then I think this hand already feels sort of lit by the rim light, so I think we're actually good there. Do we hit? Maybe we get a little love to the far side of the gems here. Maybe a little bit catches that boot. Yeah, okay. I feel like I'm feeling quite satisfied with that. I'm just going to give it a final little sort of glance. Okay, maybe we add a little bit. There's like some of this magic color here on the top of this orb. Maybe we'll add a little bit to the inside of this as well, into the bottom. So let's go find that layer. There it is. Add a little bit of that color there. And a little bit of that color here. I'm just going to do something wild for a second. I just curious if like we have her with glowing pink eyes. How sweet does that look? Is that just like super awesome, or is that lame? Again, like just overdrive mode last minute to see what kind of crazy stuff we can do. Let's try it on multiply. Boost the brightness up there. No, I think you either have to go all the way or not. And I think we're gonna go with that. Maybe they could be a little more sparkle on these little beads, necklace things. Okay. And then a little bit here. Maybe there's a little bit here on the top of the boot so that pops. Okay. I think we're there. I think we did it. Let's see what we got in chat here. I mentioned the other day you wanted to have a product at the end. Not sure if it's early to talk about it, but I think a ArtofTy book could be a cool thing. Oh man, that could be pretty cool. I have contemplated over the years maybe putting something together. So I'll definitely add it to the list of things to consider. But yeah, maybe I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I can, what the best way to approach that would be. But it's a good thing to have in the back of my head, stirring around to see what I can come up with. But yeah, I think with that, guys, I think we'll just call this one wrapped up. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching the creation of the second in the series, Evil Lyn, of our MOTU series here. So we did Skeletor first. If you haven't seen that, go watch that. There's 2 episodes of that one. That was the first one we did. And I really enjoyed doing that one. And then the second character we did here was Evil Lyn, again in 2 episodes. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. And leave a comment down below on what character you'd like to see us do next. And we'll start that on the next episode. Okay, so thanks again, everybody. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.